Good morning, 40K fans, 40K radio fans, Freebooters fans. We're going to be doing a Codex review today in several segments. Necrons. Morning, guys. Necron Codex, it's out. Few things, just to give basics how we're going to do this Codex review. We're going to do it in several segments. Don't want to overload you guys with too much information at one sitting. Going to do a few, cover a few different types of units each time. Start off with some of the basics. First of all, almost purchased my first limited edition Codex. I really wanted to, just financially, just couldn't quite make that commitment. So, got the hardcover. I do like the digitals, but I've come to decide that if I have one or the other, I prefer to have the actual physical Codex versus the digital. Maybe down the line, if I'm going to be starting to play tournaments again and stuff, I'll pick up the digital. But for right now, sticking with my hard copy. Obviously, the raised texture on the cover again for the Necrons. Some beautiful new artwork in here. Maybe I can throw up a couple of the pics as we go along here. They almost have the cut out color palettes and stuff. Yeah, the usual fluff. Go into it a little more detailed in some areas, which was a nice surprise. Especially with the fact that this is only the second Codex with the newer fluff compared to what we had to deal with before. Full color as usual. Lots of beautiful pictures of the armies. Although, once again, new Codex, we get nerfed. Necrons get nerfed. Some of you may not know, Necrons are my army. Yeah, Necrons and Marines, but primarily Necrons. Got close to 7,000 points in Necrons now. But our Codex physically got nerfed. We do not have a fold out. That's okay. Just being goofy. No, beautiful production value. Well worth the money in my opinion. It is what it is. Some rumors going around that they're not going to do hard covers anymore. They're going to go to just the soft covers again. We'll see. I do like this Codex. Again, well constructed. Typical hardcover Codex for Necrons. Lots of changes in this Codex. Just an overview a little bit here. You're not going to play Necrons the way you played them before. So, if that's what you expected, you're going to be one of those internet trolls that just whines and cries, oh, it's not the same Codex. Not too bad. Let's be realistic. Nobody thought it was going to be the same Codex. A lot of people don't want it to be the same Codex. A lot of people who don't like the Necrons don't want it to be the same Codex. So, as you're listening to this review, and I'll do an overall at the end again, prepare yourself to rethink how you're going to play. As an allied detachment, they may play fairly similar, but I think the way the new Codex is structured, you're really going to benefit from that new structure if you play to it, if you play to what they're trying to tell you the Necron strength is. I mean, there's some basic no surprises. You're not a close combat force. Your strength is in mid-range shooting and durability. That hasn't changed. But the way you're going to mix your units, the way you're going to spend your points, that's all going to change. I'm really excited about it. When I first read through the Codex, I was like, what the heck did they do my Necrons? Then I pulled back the sheets a little bit and really started looking, trying to keep myself in a fresh perspective. And I started seeing more and more doors open for me as to the possibilities of what this Codex can do. I'm really excited about it now. I'm really looking forward to delving into it. Okay, first off, we're going to hit some overall rules that changed up a little bit for the Necrons. As we all know, they had Will Be Back, reanimation protocols. Well, once again, they are called reanimation protocols. They do work a little bit differently. as with the last Codex, you do get to roll them sort of every phase. So you actually get to roll them every time. Basically, it's a enhanced feel no pain. Standard is that at a 5-up, after suffering any wound that gets past your save, any wound, you get to roll your will be back, or your reanimation protocols, or your Arnold Schwarzenegger can't blow me up. It does specify that if the rule states remove the model from play, you don't get your reanimation protocols. But pretty much anything else, instant death, doubling out, that doesn't matter. Other thing you can't do is destroyer weapons. You don't get the reanimation protocols from destroyer weapons. There is no more ever-living protocol for your characters either, as we'll discover a little bit as we go into individual units. But basically, every time it suffers an unsaved wound, and it does specify it is not a save. So anything that says you do not get to take a save against this, GW has done a good job of taking that ambiguity out of it. It is not a save. So any wound that gets through, you get to roll. And that doesn't matter if it's in the movement phase, it's in the shooting phase, it's in the assault phase. You get your reanimation protocols. You don't get to double up on like feel no pain and reanimation and all that, but that's to be expected. One other clarity they did make is as far as the stackability of trying to use a res orb, which has changed dramatically as well, is that you can never get better than a 4-up. So you can't stack multiple, like Cryptex, again, we'll explain more later, res orbs and all that to get it down from a 5-up to like a 2-up. Nope. 4-up is the best you're going to get. So you're 50% of the time, your guys should be standing up. If your dice are like mine, that means, 1 out of every 5 or 6, you'll stand back up. Living metal. You ignore the effects of crew shaken, just basically like before. At the end of each of your turns, roll a d6 for each of your heavy or super heavy vehicles with this special rule that has less than its starting number of hull points and has not been destroyed. And roll of a 6, that model regains a hull point lost early in the game. That's a huge difference and makes things like the monolith much more powerful. So definitely pay attention to that when you're playing your living metal units. The gauze weapons basically work exactly the same as before. Nothing, surprising there, which is a good thing. I mean, Death Ray, now a heavy one, blast. So it's no longer the line; it's just a heavy one, blast, and it's a lance weapon as well. So. Slight nerf, slight improvement. It kind of balances out. I do kind of miss the whole, because I could play a lot of cool shenanigans with the Death Ray before, with drawing that 3d6 line out. I enjoyed that. But I wish it was a large blast, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. 24-inch. Not going to go into every difference of every weapon. We'll get a little more to that as needed as we go through individual units. But I do want to touch on Tesla real quick. Unfortunately, and I personally didn't think this was necessary, but they have changed Tesla a little bit. First of all, Tesla destructors no longer get the arc rule. Don't ask me. It is what it is. You still get your 2 extra shots when rolling 6. However, it does specifically say you don't get it when you're firing your snapshot. So no more trying to use your immortals really to take down flyers, because you're not going to get 2 extra for rolling the 6. And for Overwatch, especially, and yes, I understand Tao's probably not too long down the pipeline, but Tao's rules which affect Overwatch are far more powerful than, hey, we get a 6 and get 2 extra hits out of it. Especially considering, you know, again, Necrons are initiative 2 in Assault, so I don't think it needed to be nerfed, but it was. It is what it is. Neither here nor there. So Tesla is, you know, changing, that specifically says you can't get the extra hits in Overwatch, basically, or snapshots, I should say. That's another big difference. Lot less war gear in this codex. Your options, especially for your lords, are a quarter of what they were before. Where you used to have, you know, 12 different choices, now you have like 3 or 4. You do still have some of the special war gear. You have some of the relic type weapons. And we'll get into all that a little bit. The other neat thing we're going to talk about is when we get to the Catan, how their powers work. Never used a Catan before. I've picked one up. I'm looking forward to trying it. Not sure how the randomness I'm going to feel about it, but again, we'll get more into that later. The biggest difference going into this is, again, going to be just the way you structure your armies. With the Decurion detachment. And again, I'm going to go into a little more strategy then, so I'm going to bring up the Decurion detachment and how that works after we've gone through all the units. And maybe that after explaining how the units work, maybe rolling them into the Decurion. Or if you want, watch the strategy clip at the end I'm going to do, and then come back and watch the units if that's actually going to process for you better. That's just the way I work. It's going to work for me. So, that's kind of the overview on some of the rule changes and stuff. Now we're going to hit headquarters. Okay, so as I briefly mentioned earlier, we're going to go over the HQ choices. A lot of differences here. A lot less war gear that you can take. But we're just going to kind of go over the basics. Overlords were 90 points, now they're 80 points, so 10-point reduction, but you also do gain the advantage if you have a +1 weapon skill and ballistic skill. Pretty much all the HQs pretty much across the board for the Overlords, named characters are going to get the +1 weapon skill, +1 ballistic skill. You know, nice to have. Definitely won't, you know, look a gift horse in the mouth. Especially 10 points cheaper on that. And again, you don't get all the war gear options. So your Overlords and Lords and special characters, no, actually not so much special characters, but the Overlords and Lords are a little more fragile than they were before, because you can't, like for example, you don't have the Sempiternal Weave anymore, so you can't give them the 2-up armor save. You can still give them the invulnerable save. And you can also use the phase shifter, will give you a 4-up invulnerable save. You still got that for some durability, but still not as durable as before. Your Lords were 35 points, now they're 50 points, so they're plus 15 points, but you do get an extra wound with them. They are independent characters. So again, more expensive, but you do get the wound out of it. Cryptex now. Now that's a big change. Huge change, actually, the way Cryptex work. You can still take, you know, some of the war gear, some of the staves and stuff like that are available in the war gear. However, they went from 25 points to 65 points. So they went up 40 points. And they do have another wound. But one of the huge differences for these is that they're basically a walking resorb. Any unit they're attached to gets a +1 bonus to the reanimation protocols. So instead of getting the 5-up on the unit, you get a 4-up on the unit. And I might as well jump into that part of the war gear now. Resorbs are very different than they were before. They're only 1 time use per game, only 1 phase of the game, and you can pop it anytime after one of your models in a unit takes an unsaved wound. So if you have a Lord or an Overlord with a Resorb, you know, let's say attached to a unit of Immortals, that first time any guy makes a save, you can determine whether or not you're going to pop that Resorb. But again, it's just for that phase. So if you're using the shooting phase, come assault phase, it's gone. Might be good for like a late game objective holder, like if you got your Overlord in your backfield, sitting on objective with a unit of troops, you get assaulted that last turn, or somebody shoots you to try to get you off of that last turn. You pop it. It is only 25 points now versus I believe it was 40 or 45 for the Resorb. Okay, Resorb was 30 points. I take it back. So it's only 5 points cheaper, and it's a one-shot deal. But again, the way the army can be built now, you can mitigate that to a great extent. We'll go into more of that with the strategies and tactics I've kind of figured out a little bit already. So we'll go into that a little more later. But again, Cryptex basically, and the other disappointment was some of the rumors were that they were going to be like the psychers of the army, and they're not. They are a valuable piece. They're not super expensive, not super cheap either. And again, you can equip them up with some of the war gear as well. Your Destroyer Lord was 125 points and jump infantry before. Now he's only 110 points, so we got a 15-point drop. But he's also jetpack infantry instead of jump infantry. So that makes him a little different, a little harder to integrate in, I think, into some of the units. But still, I'd still say a very good choice. All his other special rules pretty much stayed the same. Nemesis Zandrak. Getting to the name characters here. He was 185 points. Now he's only 150 points. So he dropped 35 points. He gained a weapon skill, ballistic skill. He does have the, Resorb. The adaptive tactics are pretty cool, actually. After that first turn, because he has his own chapter tactic to begin with. So Nemesis Zandrak normally starts with the Eternal Madness trait, which means that he has the Zealot special rule. Now, after that first turn, every turn he can choose any Warlord trait that he wants. Now, you can't choose the same one more than once, but any Warlord trait in the Necron book or in the basic rule book, you can choose every turn after that. So, maybe if you're about to get going to close combat, you can choose one that'll specify that. Maybe you need to get something to help you get in reserves or whatever. But that's where his adaptive tactics can kick in. So really pretty cool. The counter tactics is a little different as well. While Nemesis Zandrak is within 24 inches of any enemy unit or units with any of the following special rules: counterattack, furious charge, hit and run, split fire, stealth, and tank hunters, then Zandrak and you should also have the same special rule or rules. So that could be really powerful if he gets in range with like a stealth and a tank hunter, and let's say he's, I don't know, with a unit of heavy destroyers. Well, guess what? Heavy destroyers just got their tank hunter in addition to stealth. So they're going to be hard to get shot off the table, as well as doing extra damage during that turn. So can definitely be a powerful weapon to use. So yeah, that was Zandrak. Over there we got Vargard Oberon. 160 points before, 140 points now. So he lost 40 points, 160 to 120. He lost a wound. He was definitely nerfed a little bit. Not terrible, but he was nerfed a little bit. Vargard's duty automatically passes the initiative test required to make a glorious intervention, so that's pretty nice. He's got the cleaving counter blow, which is actually really cool. Basically, any missed attack from your opponents, you get an extra attack at initiative step 1. So hopefully they miss a whole ton of attacks, and granted they're in mission step 1, but if you survive to initiative step 1, you could really be pounding on a unit. So he could actually be extremely effective as long as he survives in close combat. He does have the Ghost Walk Mantle again. Once per game, start of friendly phase, Varbar can choose to use Gold to remove himself and his unit from the table if they are not locked in combat. And then immediately arrive anywhere on the board using the Deep Strike rule. They will not scatter if they attempt to Deep Strike within 12 inches of Xandrak. And obviously you can't use that part if he's already part of a unit with Vargard. Illuminor Xeris, 100 points for, he's 110 now. He gained fear. So, you know, I don't know if that was exactly worth 10 points, but it's what he got. Against those, the mechanical augmentation, hardened carapace, improved optics, or enhanced servo motors. He's got the Eldritch Lance as his weapon, 36-inch strength 8, AP2, assault 1 lance. And he's the Lord of Technomancy. Illuminor Xeris and all friendly models with the reanimation protocol within 6 inches of him, including his own unit, receive a +1 bonus to reanimation protocols. So again, basically making it a 4-up. Orakan the Diviner was 165 points. Now he's 120 points, so a 45-point drop. He's got Master Chronomancer, which basically means he can re-roll saves of a 1. So if you're like me and you blow saves, well, this can actually be really helpful. Any save he rolls that's a 1, he gets to re-roll it. And he also has the +1 to reanimation protocols. Got an enduring roll warlord trait. He's also got Stars Are Right. Roll d6 at the start of each friendly turn. If the result is less than the current turn, Orakan uses the Orakan Empowered profile for the rest of the game. If Orakan suffers an unsaved wound before becoming empowered, he will have 3 wounds instead of 4. So that's much more powerful than it was before, because before you could flip back and forth and all this. Now it's just once he goes, that's it. But it's again rolling below. It does say less than, so you can't obviously get on turn 1 because you can't roll less than a 1. But turn 2, hey, turn 2, you roll a 1, bam. The rest of the game, he's empowered. So overall, I'd say it's a good value. One of my favorites, Anarkir the Traveler. He was 165, now he's 160. Minus 5 points. But he does gain the ballistic skill and the weapon skill. He does do the Pyrian Eternals, which means, of course, the one unit of Immortals gets the fierce attack and counter charge. He does have the Mind in the Machine, very different than it was before. It's now only 12 inches, when it was 18 inches before. And on a 4-up, he'll take over a single random weapon from that model. So you can no longer say on the land rate, oh yeah, I'm gonna fire the multi-melta off the top, or I'm going to fire the the las cannon. Now it's a random roll, so you might fire a heavy bolter. Again, you take over Lehman Rest. Yeah, maybe you get the battle tank, but then again, maybe you get the stubber. So, little nerfed. Take it for what it is. I mean, it's, nice desperation move if you get him into range. Transcend the Infinite was 175, now is only 130. Dropped to 45 points, gained a ballistic skill and weapon skill. It's got the surrogate host rule still. If Transcend is removed as a casual, 2d6. On a 2+, choose another friendly. Roll a d6. On a 2+, roll another friendly. Choose another friendly Necron infantry character, excluding unique models. Remove that model and as a casualty and place Trazyn in its place with D3 wounds remaining. If that character was locked in combat, Trazyn, the Infinite is now locked in combat. If no such characters remain, or a 1 was rolled, remove Trazyn from normal as normal. It does come with an Empathic Obliterator, which is Strength +2, AP4, melee concussive psionic shockwaves. If a character is slain in a challenge by an attack that has a special rule, all models within 6 inches of the slain model with the same faction, friend or foe, immediately suffer a Strength 4 AP-hit. So basically, if you use this on another Necron in a challenge, your guys within range are going to get hit as well. On the other hand, too, if your Necrons are part of an allied, let's say, and you're fighting what your ally is, well, again, you could end up hurting your allies. Catacomb Command Barge did change a lot. It is listed as an HQ. It was 80 points. Now it's 135 points. So 55-point increase. However, it automatically comes with the Overlord on it. Not just an Lord, an Overlord. Standard Overlord scats can take weaponry as normal. Again, can take the normal vehicle, changes in the weapon, still has the living metal, still has the quantum shielding, still has reanimation protocols. You have the command wave now. All friendly units with the Necron faction within 12 inches of Catacomb command bars reroll all failed morale, pinning, and fear tests. If your warlord is a Catacomb command barge with the Immortal Hubris warlord special trait, this special rule instead infects all units with the Necron's faction within 18 inches of the Catacomb command barge. And as you know, it's got an okay footprint on the table, so 18 inches from that's pretty decent. Again, very different from what it was, but still, even at 135 points, again, the fact that you're getting the Overlord with it, more than worth taking 1, maybe even 2, maybe more if you're playing Unbound. It is what it is. So that's one last thing. I was debating whether I was going to do a section up, but because he was an HQ and he's not now, I'm going to go ahead and throw him in here anyways. Imhotep the Stormlord was an HQ. Now he's a Lord of War. No big surprise there. We all know the top main character in pretty much every codex. You know, when they redo Space Marines, Marneus Calgar is going to be a Lord of War. Dante's a Lord of War. Was it Gazgul? I think it is a Lord of War. Big name characters are all going Lord of War. So no surprise there. Now what is a surprise, at least to me, was 225 point HQ. Now he's 190 points. He dropped 35 points. He gained a ballistic skill and weapon skill. He has It Will Not Die. He's a Lord of the Storm, which means that he's always has Night Fight on turn 1 if you want it. You don't have to choose it, but if you want it, automatically Night Fight turn 1. Once per game, you get the his other special rule, which basically it's the same, similar to the lightning attack you had before. Not quite as powerful as it was, though. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's still. I mean, it's still an attack. I mean, I'll take it, but let me just read it exactly. Lord of the Storm. Let's see. At the start of any friendly shooting phase, roll a d6 for each enemy unit. And again, this is once per game. Within 48 inches of Imhotep. So basically, if he's in the middle of the board, he's going to hit everybody. On a 5+, 5+, so 1/3 of the time, that unit suffers d6, strength 6, AP-hits. These hits are randomly allocated. Again, it's only once per game. It doesn't have to be during the night fight. So I'll take it. I'm not going to argue. And of course, he's got the whole Blood Swarm, Nano Scarab thing, the Deep Strike Flayed ones, whatever. Got the Staff of the Aeons. So again, especially for his reduced point cost, I'm not going to argue. I'll take him. That's the HQ section, though. Next time, I'm going to go over the elites and probably the troops as well. Combine those into one. And then we'll get into fast attack and heavy support after that and kind of an overview. So thank you very much for joining and listening today. Have a great one.